The movie opens with a man named Lorenzo being pursued by a group of people. Lorenzo, a gambler, recently defeated a man named Gino, who refuses to accept his loss and is determined to kill him. Fortunately, Lorenzo manages to escape. The next day, Lorenzo's friends warn him that Gino's men are still searching for him, urging him to flee town. He quickly mounts a horse and rides away. Meanwhile, the story introduces a princess named Pina, whose parents have tragically died from a plague, leaving her feeling isolated. Gino, seeking to manipulate the situation, approaches Pina and assures her that he will look after her. However, Pina remains strong and tells him not to worry, as she plans to marry a Russian prince named Zinsky. Gino, scheming, lies to her, claiming that her father was deeply in debt to him, and as a result, all of their property now belongs to him. Gino offers a way out, stating that if Pena marries him, he will forgive the debt. Pena, however, remains silent and walks away. Meanwhile, Gino's men continue chasing Lorenzo, who cleverly climbs a tree to evade them. However, the branch breaks, causing him to fall and lose consciousness. While he's out, a group of nuns happens to pass by and takes him to their church. The nuns, captivated by his good looks, begin kissing him, thinking he's unaware since they believe he can't hear or speak. Just as they continue their antics, the Mother Superior arrives and questions who Lorenzo is. The nuns lie, saying he's a gardener who is both deaf and mute. Lorenzo, fully aware of what's happening, decides to stay hidden in the church to avoid Gino's men. Later, as Lorenzo is bathing, two nuns secretly enter and are surprised when Lorenzo catches them off guard. He seduces them, deepening his connection to the nuns. At the same time, Penny is discussing her situation with friends, trying to figure out how to escape Gino's clutches. Her friend suggests that she should hide in a nearby church, disguised as a nun, until Prince Zinsky arrives and they can marry. Following their advice, Penny dons the disguise and arrives at the church, where she notices Lorenzo. Curious, she asks the nuns about him, and they repeat the lie, that he is the deaf and mute gardener. As Penny begins observing Lorenzo, she catches him in the act, seeing him take one of the nuns into the bushes for an intimate moment. A few days later, Prince Zinsky arrives at the palace, ready to marry Princess Pina. Instead of being greeted by her, he encounters Gerbino, who falsely claims that Pina will be marrying him instead. Furious, Zinsky storms out of the palace. As he leaves, a worker discreetly informs him that Pina is hiding in a nearby church, disguised as a nun. Without hesitation, Zinsky sets off for the church. Meanwhile, at the church, two nuns approach Lorenzo and ask him to clap them, as they'd never experienced it before. Being a kind man, Lorenzo agrees. Afterward, they take him to the Mother Superior's room, where he ends up spending the entire day with her as well. Pena, watching all this, is not impressed. The next day, she confronts Lorenzo directly and confesses her feelings. As Lorenzo attempts to remove her veil, she stops him, blindfolding him instead. Lorenzo finds this intriguing and becomes even more excited. But Pena only gives him a kiss before slipping away. When Lorenzo removes the blindfold, she has already vanished. Frustrated, Pena goes to the Mother Superior and reveals that Lorenzo is not who he claims to be. She explains that she overheard him singing in the garden, proving he is neither mute nor deaf. The Mother Superior, suspicious, goes to Lorenzo's room to verify. While he is asleep, she whispers that she's there to kill him. Startled, Lorenzo wakes up in fear, begging her not to kill him. Realizing he lied about his disability, the Mother Superior becomes enraged and expels Lorenzo from the church. Afterward, Pena also leaves the church, heading back to her palace. Lorenzo pleads with her to take him along, as he has nowhere else to go. Pena, secretly pleased, agrees, and they travel together. Meanwhile, Prince Zinsky arrives at the church and spots a nun named Melissa bathing. He introduces himself as the Prince of Russia and says he has come to marry Princess Pina. Melissa, deceiving him, claims to be Pina, and Zinsky, thrilled, engages with her. Back in town, Pina and Lorenzo settle at her home, where she offers him a place to stay for a few days. During dinner, Lorenzo admits that he has fallen in love with a nun from the church, though he never saw her face clearly. He expresses his desire to marry her. Pena, recognizing herself as the girl Lorenzo is describing, doesn't reveal the truth. Later, Gerbino arrives, furious to find Lorenzo with Pena. In a fit of rage, he attacks Lorenzo and nearly kills him. To save Lorenzo, Pena intervenes, promising to marry Gerbino if he spares Lorenzo's life. Reluctantly, Gerbino agrees but has Lorenzo thrown in jail instead. The next day, Penia confronts Gerbino once more, declaring that she won't marry him until Lorenzo is safely released from prison. Gerbino, furious at Penia's demand, eventually agrees to her condition. Lorenzo is released from his cell, and Penia, with a heavy heart, tells him to go find the woman he loves. However, Gerbino's men are assigned to escort Lorenzo out of town, but they betray him, launching a surprise attack. Lorenzo defends himself, ultimately killing both of them. Determined, he heads back to town to rescue Penia. Meanwhile, the church father is conducting the wedding ceremony for Penia and Gerbino when Zinski suddenly arrives. He boldly declares that Penia belongs to him and that he will be the one to marry her. Zinski then attacks Gerbino and his men, and moments later, Lorenzo arrives, triggering a chaotic brawl. Gerbino chases after Penia, only to be intercepted by Zinski. The two engage in a fierce battle, with Zinski ultimately defeating Gerbino and preparing to strike the final blow. Before he can, Lorenzo steps in, claiming that Gerbino is his to kill. A sword fight ensues, and they battle atop a well. Lorenzo gains the upper hand and pushes Gerbino into the well, sending him to his death. With the fight over, Zinski turns to Penia, proposing marriage. To his shock, she refuses. Confused, Zinski questions her about what transpired the previous day. Penia, unaware of what he's referring to, removes her veil, revealing she isn't the woman Zinski thought she was. Suddenly, Melissa, the woman Zinski had fallen for the previous day, appears. Overjoyed, Zinski proclaims his love for Melissa and kisses her. As the dust settles, Penia searches for Lorenzo, but finds him walking away. She rushes to him, finally confessing her love. However, Lorenzo rejects her, explaining that his heart belongs to the nun who kissed him in the church. Saddened, Penia asks him to close his eyes and then kisses him. In that moment, Lorenzo realizes Penia is the same woman he had been longing for all along. The movie closes on this emotional revelation. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more content like this. Hit the bell icon to receive notifications when we upload new videos. And if you enjoyed this one, give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. We'll see you in the next video.